Hello, I'm Catherine Nicholson, and this is Talking Europe on France 24. Today, we're talking to the man in charge of the European Union's foreign policy, the former Spanish foreign minister and vice president of the European Commission, Josep Borrell. Josep Borrell, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you to you.
Starting on European vaccine strategy, it is facing criticism for going too slowly from outsiders and insiders, most recently Austria's Chancellor Sebastian Kurz. Now, the European Commission did sign the vaccine contracts and oversee the process. Would you agree with Ursula von der Leyen, who says the Commission is being used as a scapegoat? Or should the EU, with its size and bargaining power, in fact, be doing better on vaccines?
Doing better? Look, which is the percentage of the British population that has got two doses? Two doses, not one dose, because one dose is not enough. 5.5%. Which is the percentage of the European population who has got two doses? 5.5%. The same thing. Only they choose another strategy to vaccinate everybody with one dose instead of us who are vaccinating two doses, which is what is required. Secondly, we have been exporting to the United Kingdom 20 million doses. How many doses has been exported from the United Kingdom to Europe? 0. How many doses has been exported from the US to the rest of the world? 0. You know, you have to count things in homogeneous terms, because it's not you are misleading people. Yes, there are delays. Yes, there is a firm which has not been able to fulfill their commitments. But now we are pushing the industrial capacity of Europe, and we are going to get the purpose of, by the summer, to have 75% of our population vaccinated.
EU national leaders did recently agree to potentially block vaccine exports in some circumstances. But what do you think of comments by Jean-Claude Juncker that the EU risks reputational damage if it engages in a vaccine war, which is what this looks like to many people?
I am really surprised that you can talk about a vaccine war. Who's fighting the war? As I said, we, the European Union, we have been exporting to the rest of the world almost the same amount of vaccines that we have been allocating to our people. We have given to the European citizens 88 million doses, and we have exported 77 million doses. Compare, please, with the United Kingdom and the US, who have exported 0. Who is doing the war? No, we are not banning exports. We are just willing to control. When one firm is not able to fulfill their commitments and continue exporting to the rest of the world, we have to control what's happening. But it doesn't mean that we are going to forbid exports everywhere.
Well, let's move on to some foreign policy matters. There's been more deadly violence in Myanmar. The EU already imposed sanctions, but as I said, more deadly violence since then. This perhaps calls into question the effectiveness of those sanctions. Will there be more action from the EU?
What kind of actions? We have the tools that we have. We can impose sanctions, we do it to the persons, to the responsible, to the military, to the physical persons. And now we are going to sanction economically to the compound, to the firms owned by the military. This is our tools. Can you imagine that we want to send troops to Myanmar? No. So we have to use the tools that we have, and at the same time to push diplomatically with the people of the Southeast Asia and with the United Nations, because what's happening in Myanmar is a shame. It's a shame for humankind. It's a brutal repression. I can say the same thing about Ethiopia, by the way. And we have to use the tools we have.
Russia has a cosy relationship with Myanmar. It says it wants to strengthen ties with the junta. Can there be effective European and other international pressure?
Yes, Russia is supporting the military coup in Myanmar, is supporting very much, not only politically, but also military. Well, it shows where Russia is. It shows which are the values that Russia is defending. It shows that we are in a completely different approach to the human rights in the world.
Well,
and for sure, it's going to affect our relationship.
Well, speaking of Russia, you recently travelled to Moscow to discuss EU-Russia relations. But while you were there, Russia expelled several EU diplomats. They told you the European Union is an unreliable partner. It was seen by many in Europe as disastrous. There was a call for more than 80 members of the European Parliament for you personally to resign over the trip. With hindsight, do you feel it was counterproductive?
Look, how many members does the European Parliament have? How many members? 700. 80 out of 700 is about 10%. Not significant.
Do you see the trip then as a success?
If you say something, please tell the whole story.
But do you see the trip as a success?
I haven't said that. I haven't said that. No, it was not a success, but I think that it has been a certain exaggeration on the fact, what would have been a success? What would have been a success? I never pretended to come to Moscow and to take Navalny home in my luggages. The purpose was to test which was the attitude of Russia with respect to the European Union, and the answer was clear. Certainly, Russia chose to aggress, exposing European diplomats while the visit was taking place, which is against all diplomatic behaviour. But my God, it was the Russian fault. It was not me who exposed the European diplomats. It was Russia.
Well, another place where Russia is very influential in Syria. We've now passed 10 years of war in Syria. The EU hosting a major donor conference in the past week. Politically, though, it feels like the EU is not a player in terms of what's happening inside Syria, in contrast to Russia and Turkey. Do you agree that the EU has lost influence in Syria?
Russia and Turkey has been sending troops to Syria, a lot of them, using the air force, bombing, destroying, fighting, killing. And certainly it gives you more leverage if you don't intervene militarily. Yes, the European Union has not intervened militarily in Syria. Has the United Kingdom done it? Has the US done it? No. We have been supporting the people in Syria with a lot of money, 25,000 million euros during the last 10 years of war. And we will continue doing that. What I can tell you is that we will continue our financial support to the Syrian people and our political support to the rebuilding of a country which has been destroyed by war for 10 years of war, making it possible for these people to come back home.
Well, speaking of those Syrian refugees, a great many of them are in Turkey currently, and Turkey, another key relationship for the EU. Now, there has been a lot of tension in the last year. Things have calmed recently. Presidents von der Leyen and Michel are going to Turkey soon. Now, in terms of that trip, Human Rights Watch wrote to you recently saying they believe human rights abuses in Turkey have been largely absent from high-level EU meetings with Turkish authorities. Will these European leaders be addressing the situation with President Erdogan, as Human Rights Watch asks?
They are talking about everything that matters for our relation. And for sure, the internal situation in Turkey is an issue of concern, but we have others, and we have to deal with all of them at the same time. We have to talk about the support to the Syrian refugees, for sure. We have to talk about the settlement in Cyprus. We have to talk about the water delimitation in the Eastern Mediterranean and the talk between Greece and Turkey. We have to talk about customs modernization, visa liberalization, a lot of issues that can be used in order to build a better partnership and a better neighborhood with Turkey. Internal issues are important, and our external relations also.
That's a lot of issues which we're all well aware of. And it seems that the issue of the customs relationship between the EU and Turkey will be discussed, perhaps returning to the carrot approach rather than stick. Human Rights Watch says perhaps human rights are a secondary concern amid these other geopolitical and trade questions.
It's a better question of an affirmation. I don't think that human rights is a second consideration for us. By the contrary, human rights is a very important part of our foreign policy. I don't think there is in the world anyone else that gives more importance to human rights in the foreign policy as we do in the European Union, in Turkey and everywhere else.
And just a last question regarding human rights. The European Council decided to sanction China over rights violations in Xinjiang province pertaining to the Uyghurs, but they only target a handful of regional officials. Do you expect this move to have a concrete impact on the rights violations documented against the Uyghurs?
Sanctions have the importance that they have. For sure, there is not a miracle capacity of changing behavior of regimes like China or Turkey or Russia through sanctions. But, we have the tools that we have and we use them. And for the first time, we have been using our human rights sanction regime in order to fight against human rights violations in Xinjiang. And as you know, it has been a strong, a tough, a disproportionate reaction from China. On the same time, we have important relations with China in many issues. And as I said before, nobody pays more attention to human rights in the world and as part of their foreign policy as we do. As the fact that we have been taking sanctions against the responsible of the Uyghur issue in China proves it.
Josep Borrell, that's all we have time for. Thank you very much.